Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows in 2011. Now this is a film that, it's another Guy Ritchie film. A few days ago I saw the first Sherlock Holmes that he made and reviewed that, and I thought, it was very, very on the line for me liking it and not liking it. I still don't really know if I do, to be honest. It was under average, I thought, 58% I gave it. Check out that review if you want to see my full thoughts, but yes, I tried to watch that one, roughly when it came out, and I never got into it. And once a couple of days ago, I actually properly watched it for the first time. I can see, I kind of saw why I never really liked it too much in the first place. This is the one as well that most people would say is worse. It's not as acclaimed. It's critically, not that great, well acclaimed at all. Still got like a 7.5 on IMDb, which was really, really good actually, considering. Of course, Robert Downey Jr., Jude back in it, and you've got Stephen Fry and other, different, actors in the film. Eddie Marsan's still in it, but very, very brief appearance. But yes, it's just, I didn't expect too much, but what I kind of went by for my expectations is the fact that many people have said that, people say that it's more of a Guy Ritchie film. And it's quite, I think critics really, really just don't like Guy Ritchie. I just don't think they like his style at all. And Snatch has not got actually much critical acclaim. You could say Metacritic is quite low. It's a negative score on that. And I think there's people with all the films that come out now of Guy Ritchie. They say it's a bad thing if it feels like a kind of like a Guy Ritchie film. And for me, I think that it's always better when it's Guy Ritchie, if you know what I mean. Like Lock, Stock, Snatch, they're the only two ones really that I had seen before this, where it was full on Guy Ritchie. And that's the Guy Ritchie films that I like, when it's Guy Ritchie, when it's him showing his full style, committing fully to the film in that sense, all the humour and everything, the editing style as well, and just the tone of the film, And I think this film is far superior to the original Sherlock Holmes, and I think it is, for the most part, a massive return to form for Guy Ritchie. When it came out, I think it's actually much more of a Guy Ritchie film. His style, his humour, and just the way he directs the film is much more, in the vein of Snatch and Lock, Stock than any of his other films. Of course, it's still very different, but this is him, really, and it's actually it's a lot better than any of the Guy Ritchie films I've seen, apart from Snatch and Lock, Stock. And I actually think this is really, really underrated. Didn't expect to like it too much. I ended up loving it, and I did not think I'd say that, and I did actually say before watching it, I will probably prefer it to the first one. Unless it's completely over the top, that it's just, unwatchable or something, but it wasn't, and it was Guy Ritchie. So, I'm not going to get into the plot too much at all, because, just read the synopsis and stuff, but you've got, of course, Watson and Holmes, again. This one's much more of an adventure film, very, very much so, and there's a train and stuff, sequences. And of course you've got new characters. Rachel McAdams makes a small appearance, but she's not in it too much. And you've got, I think you've just got much more better set pieces in this film. You've got a far better narrative. That's the thing I was noticing. But the first 20 minutes, there's maybe like a 10-minute stretch within that that's not, on form with the rest of the film. It's kind of more akin to the first Sherlock Holmes, and I thought, it's probably going to dip again. Luckily, after that, it picked up massively, and it became, for the most part, actually a pretty amazing film. I think, what was, I think the action actually was even better than the first Sherlock Holmes. Not the bare knuckle, the fist fights, but because they were really quite something in the first. There's not there's not too much of that in this one, but there's more shootouts and stuff, and kind of like full-on battle scenes in a way. The train sequence is amazing. It's absolutely stunning. And these are sustained sequences, as opposed to a couple of here and there fist fights. More than the first, as great as they were, they weren't, you know, big sequences. And I think as well, some of the stuff towards the end as well is absolutely stunning. All the action in this film is top notch, and it's really just amazing. I love the humour that's used within the action. He brings that back again, you know, the slapstick kind of within the action, and the way that the editing is used for the humour, and just an energy to the editing. This is much more like Snatcher, Lock, Stock editing, more than the first Sherlock Holmes. Well, of course, there's parts where it does of that. This is far more committed to that. You know, it's just Guy Ritchie coming back again, really, with his style in this film. And I think, you know, I guess maybe because, you know, it done well the first one, and, you know, maybe when he was making that film, he didn't want to, you know, go full on him, and because it was so successful, he thought, you know, why not? I'll just take a risk here. Done really well at the box office, of course, and of course the risk did not pay off critically, but that's just kind of shows for me that the critics are kind of against Guy Ritchie. Full stop, really. You know, the fact that The Man from U.N.C.L.E. is more acclaimed than this, actually, for the most part, it just you know, baffles me. But yes. Sherlock Holmes, of course, played by Robert Downey Jr., is really just, you know, he's far better in this film than he is in the last one. And he was already really good. I think the best thing about the first Sherlock Holmes Guy Ritchie one was Robert Downey Jr., you know, and there's a different Sherlock Holmes to say, you know, some of the past ones, like Peter Cushing and stuff, Rathbone, but, you know, it did work. It's just the rest of the film, most of it didn't, you know, work massively well. In this, you know, he's even better. What's great about this film as well is the relationship between him and Watson. You know, Jude Law. Jude Law is really good in this film. There's a couple of bits early on. That's mainly just them scenes overall not great. Where he's not too good, but the rest of the film I really like Jude Law. Actually, really liked him, and the relationship is great. You know, it's a great camaraderie, friendship, and quite powerful in places actually towards the end. You know, and all the side characters as well. Stephen Fry, I think, was really funny in this film. Just a great appearance from him. Noomi Rapace, she was really good in this film as well. I think she was better than Rachel McAdams was, you know, in the first one. And you know, I just think the narrative was far more compelling. You know, it was much more involving, much clearer storytelling. The first one was very convoluted. I can't believe how, you know, it's just convoluted the first one was, and it wasn't a complex, it shouldn't have been a complex, you know, story and stuff. It's just the way it was told wasn't clear enough, you know, and it was very muddled. The editing, where it kind of, you should see what Sherlock Holmes has actually seen, you know, and you know, to do with the flashback kind of stuff. In the first one, it kind of just made things a bit more confusing. It was a bit muddled. It's overused. In this one, it works kind of perfectly to just to tell the story more purely, you know. And it does not. It's not a gimmick in that sense. It just serves the story, you know. That's just a tool that he uses really amazingly to actually, you know, to develop the story. And it's always used in right moments where, you know, it kind of goes back and he's like, oh, right, and then it goes forward, stuff like that. It really works to give the film a drive. And just overall, this is such an adventurous film, you know, the energy and the spirit is there. Where the first one was more, you know, just in London, which is fine. It didn't really work though. I think it was a bit boring in that sense. It was just, and the fact that the cinematography wasn't great in the London areas. The cinematography in this is much better. It's just better in every way, the cinematography. The lighting, you know, just the actual depth of it, and it's not got that cheap look, you know, that BBC drama look that I kind of said was the first one. It's just much better, you know, and it's actually shot much better. The action's been shot better and edited better as well. You've just got so much more layers as well, you know, the way the comedy plays into all that, and you know, I just liked the narrative far much more. You know, I barely connected with the narrative. I didn't really get a sense of a narrative really. Very minimal in the first one, just because it was all over the place really in that sense. And this one has a constant progression to it. It has a constant drive. Very compelling throughout, and the action scenes are stunning. The soundtrack, of course, once again, is great by Hans Zimmer. You know, the script, I think, You know, it's far better than it was in the first one. It's a really, really good script. And you know, the villain in this film, you know, Jared Harris plays Professor Moriarty. The villain in this film is great, actually. You know, all things considered, I think he was much better than, you know, Mark Strong. Unfortunately, wasn't great in the first Sherlock Holmes film, and I always liked Mark Strong. At least enjoy him. You know, but yeah, I really wasn't impressed with the villain in that film. His portrayal either, not just the writing. But the villain in this is great. I think you know, Jared Harris is really, really great. You know, there's a lot of humour there and it works. But he's also very, very you know, he's constantly kind of, there's loads of stakes involved, and he's constantly kind of against Robert Downey in the film throughout different parts. And just, I think that, you know, his involvement in the story was really just great, very compelling, and the final showdown was great. Added a twist, you know, it wasn't predictable in that sense. You know, very, very a twist as well that added a lot of comedy. I loved the ending, kind of, because it wasn't a full-on, you know, kind of punch-up or anything like that. Watch it and find out if you've not seen it. It was just a really unique twist, and I loved that bit. And then just the actual ending was great, kind of epic, got me pumped for the eventual sequel, because now I do. But the unfortunate thing is, you know, it's coming in 2020, I believe, and we don't know if Guy Ritchie's going to direct. And now I do really want him to direct this, because, you know, he's kind of proven with this that he can make a great Sherlock Holmes film, because I actually think this is a great film. I think it's a stunning adventure film, stunning action film. I loved the characters and the arcs. The humour pretty much worked all the time, and you know, the way that he incorporates into the action is very unique. I think the cinematography is stunning. The editing is on top form. I think that the music is used wonderfully, and just the villain and you know, the antagonist and the protagonist, it just works really amazingly well, and a constant flow for the most part after that first sort of 20 minutes, which was, you know, a bit more mixed, but still good, I would say. But you know, it just in every way beats the original for me. I think there's no comparison whatsoever. That's just me personally. I really didn't like the first one too much, but I absolutely loved this one. You know, it's got flaws, and not all of it I loved. As I said, some of the first 20 minutes could have been better, and there was one scene, you know, after that, you know, it wasn't quite great, but there was only like 2-3 minutes of dialogue scene. But really, this film, it's got such an energy, as I've said, so well crafted, very unique. You know, it's just full of a drive to the narrative. The narrative is really great, and sharp script, really amazing characters. Robert Downey, Jude Law are even much better than they were in the first, and Robert Downey was really good in the first. Just loved it, really. Actually, you know, I'd have to give this film a 91%. I loved it, and it has some flaws, as I've said, and it's not like a masterpiece or anything. But yeah, no, I actually think this is a great Sherlock Holmes film, just a great Guy Ritchie film, which is great, because I didn't expect, you know, to love it like this. And, you know, Guy Ritchie, to wrap up, you know, he's not, you know, I've only seen 2 great films from him until this, you know, and that was Lock, Stock and Snatch. A lot of the other ones I've been really, really disappointed with. Rock and Roller was fine, it was average. It started out, I think the first half was better than the second, and, you know, there was a lot of flaws of it, but, you know, I did like it. But Man from Uncle, you know, I didn't like. And, you know, of course, this the first Sherlock Holmes, you know, very, very mixed. And, of course, he's done many other films that aren't acclaimed. You know, King Arthur, I've got to check that out, though. Because I kind of watched I watched about 10 minutes of that at one point, and just to see, because many people have panned it, and it didn't look too bad. That's just, you know, that I know I can't judge it from 10 minutes or so, but maybe, I don't know, maybe with Guy Ritchie I've really just got to watch them and find out, which I will be doing very soon with King Arthur, actually. But yes, I think this is a great film, 91%, and even if you don't like the first Sherlock Holmes, I'd definitely watch this, because it's very, very different, completely different tone, and more of a committed Guy Ritchie to the film. Just completely different and better in every way for me. Yeah. So thanks for watching my review of Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows. Highly recommend this film.